Welcome to SST College of Arts and Commerce. This is SST Edupedia. Myself, Assistant Professor Sunil Shah. Today, I would be covering up the topic which is there in the both classes, that is SYBCom as well as in first year BMS of Mumbai University in the SEM 3 of SYBCom and in FYBMS SEM 1. The unit which is there in SYBCom is Unit 5 and in BMS is Unit 2. The subject name is business law in both the classes, as well as the act which is applicable is Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, and the topic name is very well known, that is called promissory note. Promissory note, the sample which has been shown in this particular slide, it says that I am so and so from the son of so and so, my age is so and so, promise to pay so and so debt with the rupees which is been mentioned, and the date at which the amount is being payable and the rate at which the interest is been payable to the person from whom he has taken the amount, followed with the date, place and the signature. As per section 4 of Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, promissory note is defined is a debt instrument that contains a written promise to pay one party the note, the issuer or the maker to pay another party a definite sum either on demand or at a specified future date. Promissory note is a note containing the promise to pay a certain amount to a person to whom he receives the money. A promissory note typically contains all terms pertaining to his indebtedness, such as principal amount, interest rate, annuity rate, maturity date, the date and place of issuance, and the issuer's signature. Coming to the parties, as you are aware, what we learned in the earlier classes in 12th standard also, which is there in first year BMS as well as in SYBCom, there are three parties to whom under which the promissory note is belonging. The parties are drawer, payee and the holder. Whereas in case of bill of exchange, we have three parties, whereas in case of promissory note, we have two parties, that is called drawer and drawee, but we had additional note called as holder. A drawer is a person to whom agrees to pay a certain amount of money on the maturity date of the promissory note. He is also known as maker, or it is called as a drawer, and the amount which is certain in nature. Drawee is he or she is an individual in whose favor the note is prepared. In usual cases, the drawee is also the payee until and unless the promissory note is transferred specifically in favor of the payee. For example, Ram is considered as a drawer if he promises to pay Sam rupees 5,000. Sham would be drawee. However, if the same promissory note is transferred in favor of Rohan, then the Rohan becomes the payee. Payee is a person to whom the payment is to be made. So the payee, the concept is clear, I hope, and the concept of the drawer or maker is also been cleared. What are the essential elements under the valid promissory note is that printed or written agreement, it should be properly written or printed, the promissory note. Any oral promise made by the person is not accepted as a promissory note. It should be always in written form or in digital form. Unconditional promise, the promise made by the drawer to the drawee must be unconditional. There should be not any condition fixed in the pro note or the promissory note. As adding to the different features, that is called essential elements, it should be signed document. The document must be signed by the drawer. It is not compulsory for the drawer to sign the same because it is the liability of the drawer, not the drawee. Exact name, there should be exact names of all the parties in case of the promissory note. Interest, if there is any, the rate which is applied, it should be mentioned in the promissory note, or it is called as pro note. What are the features of promissory note? The money that can be payable in installment or in lump sum. It can be interest bearing or interest free, which is to be mentioned in the promissory note. Coming to the features, the other points, the pro note or the promissory note can be single or joint borrowers. It can be multiple also, or it is one pro note also. It can be a negotiable instrument on demand or order of the drawee. Coming to the explanation of the types of promissory note, this is the particular slide where it shows the promissory note on demand, where the drawee has to pay the money, where the seller or the drawee asks for the money. On demand, it is also known as a promissory note on demand, that is a promissory note on demand. Now coming to the mandatory inclusion in the promissory note, a promissory note is a format in India includes the following information. Name of the parties involved, such as the document must include the names of the persons, that is payee, drawee and the holder. Address and the contact details has to be mentioned, such as residential address as well as the phone number or the email ID. Promissory note amount, it must be shown as the sum that is outstanding and must be repaid on that particular specified date which has been mentioned in the promissory note. Repayment date, it is refers to the specified period within which the sum mentioned in the promissory note must be repaid to the another. The repayment terms should include the detailed repayment process of the said sum. Additionally, it must include the penalties, if any, which is to be applied. Collateral agreements, that is the additional feature which has to be given along with the promissory note, where the borrower pledges the collateral is a real estate note. In such cases, the lender can take the possession of the immovable property belonging to the borrower in case of the borrower fails to repay the amount and the predetermined date. Interest rate, if the lender is charging interest on the borrowed amount, the exact rate of interest which has been levied on the sum must be mentioned on the document as well. Coming to the different types as usance, it is a situation where the money has to be paid on the date in which is specified in the promissory note at the time of making the promissory note. Like there is a written note on the drawer will pay the money as the date is 24 December 2020. As for an example, it is the duty of the drawer to pay that money on that said date. Commercial note, it is a commercial note or a legal document which is also a type of promissory note involving the individuals and the commercial lending company such as bank note or non-NBFC, that is non-banking financial companies. For instance, Mr. X avails education loan from a bank, he should need to sign a promissory note indicating that he intends to repay the outstanding amount along with interest on that particular or the specified date. Personal note, where the individual seeks a credit, some friends or relatives, any legal document establishing of the repayment of the loan is also known as personal promissory note. However, in most of the cases, the people lending is a close relative or friends overlook such as a legal binding document of the transaction. So, personal pro note is also a type of promissory note. Wherever the person who takes the loan, he binds the other person that if the person fails, then the other person is liable to pay the amount. Investment in business firm, you make use of promissory note as broker funds for its operation. Such a move is governed by the standard securities laws as per the Securities Act. Also, this document includes the terms and conditions related to the return of the said document, when this document would be written on the repayment of that particular amount. A real estate, in such cases, the promissory note failure to repay the promised sum within the stipulated time can lead to the notes issuer losing possession or the immovable property. So whenever the document which has been given as a collateral security before taking the amount, and if he pays, then that property would be given to the other party if he is not paying that amount on time. A lender on other hand is free to recover the sum by selling or acquiring the property which is in question. The content of the promissory note, if you see from this slide, it will be mentioned the date, the amount, when is to be made, the person who is signing, and the interest in which it is applicable. Thank you from my side. This was in short the types of the promissory note, the essential features of the promissory note, which is there in Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. Thank you.